Okay. So hello, everyone, and welcome to It's Levels to This. I'm Sherron Washington, your host, where I bring in incredible professionals to talk about how to level up in different areas, from everything from fashion to your mindset to leadership to today. We are going to talk wine with my friend. I have Yvette Simpson, who is a political strategist and commentator, but definitely wine enthusiast. She'll tell you all about it when we dig into this. So remember, it's a fun conversation, how we're elevating, how people are elevating in different spaces. And us guys, we want you to tune in. So welcome, Yvette. It's good to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Sherron, and thank you for this amazing podcast that you're putting out for all of us.
Trying my best, elevation, right?
Elevation, levels.
See, every time they see me, I'm going to be doing better. That's my hope. That's how I'm moving.
That's life. That's how it works. It's getting better and better.
So tell us a little bit about your background pre-wine enculturated.
Okay. So I had a very full career and have had it, nicknamed the Queen of Reinvention. Nice. I have been a lawyer, which I still technically am, and a professor. I was a public official and then became a national political strategist and political commentator, which is what I do today. But I fell in love with wine 20 plus years ago when I studied in Italy in college, and have been on this wine journey for a while and decided to make it more formal during the pandemic.
I feel adult with wine.
Yeah. It is. It's a grown person thing for sure. It definitely is a grown and sexy thing for sure.
It is. I feel really classy. I guess it took me a while to get to the wine phase. I was more of a Hennessy, cognac girl, and then as you get older, things change, and so I've got into wine. Right. Yeah. So okay. So let's get into some of these questions, right? I want you to describe for the audience your elevation from what I like to call politics to Prosecco.
Like, I love that.
I know, right? From politics.
I know that.
I try my best. But tell us about that, because I know my audience members feel like, oh my goodness, I can't do two things at the same time, or I can't represent in two spaces, being a senior executive or professional, and then going to my hobby, building it into a business. So what's that elevation look like from politics to Prosecco?
You can do more than one thing, and I'm proof of that. I think we have a lot of folks who are turning their passion into their profession, really elevating out of things that they are naturally really good at into things that they are good at and what they love. And for me, politics will always be a part of my life. There's nothing I can do about that, but wine brings me joy. And what I love about wine that has a commonality to my political life is wine brings people together and it creates a conversation. And so whenever we can get people together, particularly around a glass of wine, differences start to dissipate, people can have a conversation, we can talk, we can keep it real, and maybe we can solve some of the world's problems over a glass of wine.
Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. I'm telling you guys, you heard it here. So you can do two things or multiple things and build and still keep your brand intact. Because I know that some of my not just senior executives, but business owners are like, well, I really like to crochet, but where is that going to fit? I found that after the pandemic, I found that, hey, it's a lane. My lane is my lane. And whatever I want to do in the moment, I'm just going to do it. I turned 50 this year, so forget it. Year 50.
Do what you love. That is the point, right? Because life is long, but every day matters, right? Like every day counts. You can't get those days back. And what I love about my transition is that it's allowing me to do something I've always done. There's not a lot of representation of women, of people of color in the wine industry. It is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. It is recession-proof. It is an area that we have not played in much. There's a new trend, and I'm happy to be a part of that, of Black and brown people, women getting into this amazing industry. And I love teaching people about wine. I've always been a coach, a trainer, a teacher. I love teaching people about wine who don't know a whole lot about it, bringing them into this fold. And I don't know if you know this, but women are the fastest growing segment of wine purchasers or wine appreciators, I guess I'll say, in the country. So we're seeing more women get into wine. And I do want to say one thing, you don't have to give up your Hennessy, because I'm a whiskey girl and I still love my wine. So you can
it's too much sugar. I gave it up, sorta. So like I moved to dark rum for some reason. I don't know why. I like XO, I think Ron Zacapa or something like that. I moved to rum because it's a little bit sweeter. Gives a little
your
bit sweeter.
palate will change. As you grow, your palate will grow. We'll talk about that later, hopefully.
Speaking of which, I have a bottle of wine that you gave me. And okay, so Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, you are. Very good with the French accent. I like that too.
Sauvignon. I try my best. And I thought I would have a glass with you and ask you this important question. Oh, wait, I have to hold the stem here, right?
Hold the stem, right? You don't want to grab the glass. It warms the wine up. So
okay.
Just hold the stem. There you go.
I'll hold it. Okay.
She's cute. She's pretty, ain't she? You like her? What you got?
Yes, I love it. I have to get a glass from you when I see you.
Yes, this is our new wine enculturated glasses for folks who participate in our tastings. Yeah.
Nice. So, while I ask you this question, what is the most elevated, no, in your opinion, what has the most elevated taste? Is it Cabernet Sauvignon or Chardonnay?
Okay, so it's important to know that every wine has a different flavor profile, and whatever you like is what you like. My two favorite varieties of wine. So variety is a type of grape.
Okay.
It's a Cabernet Sauvignon, which you're drinking. I'm drinking a Tempranillo actually, and a Chardonnay. And I like both of them for different reasons. My palate tends to be what you call earthy, spicy. Those are my notes. That's why I like a good bourbon. And Cabernet for me reflects both fruit and earth in a way that like makes my palate sing. Chardonnays, I like those from California because they tend to be a little weightier. They tend to be silkier, a little butterier, and a little creamier. And so I like buttery, oaky Chardonnays from California, Napa Valley. I like big body Cabernet from California as well.
Okay, so
yeah.
split between the two.
I like I like a lot of wine, and a lot of people, they might have one favorite, but then they'll dance around. I tell people, don't get stuck. If you got a wine that you really like, venture out there, check out some others, see how they fancy you. Check it out.
My mother likes really, really sweet wine. So she likes I think a rosé or however, right? For me, I think I want to say full body. Look, I dare not jump out here because I'm truly a 101. I'm at that level.
Girl, just wherever you are, that's anybody that's watching, wherever you are, we can get you there. Okay, we can start from the beginning.
Pinot Noir. I think
Pinot Noir.
It's a little bit dry, but it's not dry. I think that is my favorite go-to, but I'm always a red. But here, look, you can clear this myth up for me so I can elevate my palate today. I always thought Chardonnay was like a blush or white.
It is.
Red too. Oh, it
is. Chardonnay is a white grape. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got that right. So I like a Cabernet Sauvignon, which is a red grape, and then a Chardonnay is a white grape. So I picked one of each because I feel like it's important for people to know that you can drink both. People don't, I will drink a Sauvignon Blanc, especially if it's from New Zealand, and then I'll turn around and have a Argentinian Malbec, which is a red. So you can like all different types of wine. I want to teach people how to take what they already know about the foods they like and the spirits they like or the beers that they like, and how you translate that into the type of wine you like, because those notes tend to be complementary. You'll find that the things you like already and the things you experience will show up in a wine that you like. And that's usually how I help people kind of start their experience with wine.
I think that's awesome. At times, I try to cook with real wine, but think, and I like to cook. If anybody follows me, I really, really like to cook. But I feel like I'm not adult enough to cook with real wine.
You can do it. You can do it. I believe in you.
Baby steps. Baby.
Good. You can do it. The trick is whatever you're going to be drinking, you should probably put that in your food because they're going to go together.
Really? So I usually I've been to Italy as well, fell in love with the place. And all we had, I think, was probably Cabernet. Like, no, we were drinking Pinot Noir. Man, I don't know. All red. I know all the time when we went to Venice, Rome, we were drinking red. And so it paired really, really well with spaghetti. And I think with any pasta that we had with some tomato sauce. So our waiters were telling us that you can cook with this. In America, he told us pretty decent wines, right?
Of course, the Italians are bougie about their wine because they have a lot of them. There's over 300 different varieties of wine in Italy alone.
Wow. Okay.
A lot of wine coming out of Italy, honey. They got a lot of different types of wine, including those super Tuscans. You probably had something like that where they're taking French grapes, but they're making them and growing them in Italy, and they are delicious. Have you ever had a super Tuscan before?
I don't even know. So now the next time we go, because we're going in the next year, the next time we go back to Italy, I'm gonna be able to say, hey, we need this, that, and the third. Yeah. Yes. I'm gonna ask you again what I need to
My
ask.
favorite Italian red is a Barolo. That's hard to get. It is a Nebbiolo grape made in the region of Barolo. It is.
But if I can get it, if they have it, I should have it.
Yes. I've got a $70 bottle aging in my cellar right now. It is very expensive and hard to get wine. And you tend to buy it young and then let it age. It can age for 15, 20 years, easy.
See, this is already helping me out already.
That's what we're here to do. We're going to give you some good wine pairings for your dishes, and we're going to help you understand what wines to put in your food.
I'm definitely going to ask for those 2 to 3 tips at the end. So, what has been the biggest challenge from you elevating to this space where you're coming from, right? So we're professionals. Yeah. I know that in the beginning for me, it was very difficult to break off into things that maybe some see as a hobby, but I know, you know what? I think I can make this into a thing that is thriving and growing as a business. So what has been your challenge to elevating in this space?
Wine has historically been pretty exclusive. I mean, people in the wine industry, you grow up in this industry, you start at a vineyard, you start in the restaurant business, and then you make your way up. And I didn't come through that line. So for me, I started studying to get my certifications, but it was still really challenging because there are people who have been in this. And so I'm proving myself and have to continue to prove myself as somebody who is committed to this work. As a wine lover and a wine educator, because I didn't grow up. It's just like any other profession. You didn't grow up in it. It's much tougher. I'm fortunate that a lot of people are making that similar transition as wine is becoming more inclusive, as more people are coming to the table, particularly people, like I said, who are diverse, who have traditionally not been in it, because it's such a great opportunity to bring new people to the market place of wine. And so that was the most, you kind of like when you're the new kid on the block, and they like, okay, you cute, but where do you work at? And I'm like, well, I didn't grow up working in restaurants. I didn't grow up working in wine shops. I didn't grow up on a farm making grapes. I did start making my own wine, and that helped. And I did the work of studying and becoming a wine educator, a certified wine educator. And that has really helped. Spending time with a lot of folks, especially around here, who are also in the wine industry has helped as well. But I think the hardest part is if you didn't grow up in the wine world, you kind of got to prove yourself because there's a way that certain people come into this work.
Wow. Yeah. And I think that's in every industry, right?
That's right.
You got to pay your dues. Even with, I roller skate for 42 years, 43 now. Some purists, I like to call them roller skate purists, will tell you, that's not the proper way to do things. And so you do have to pay your dues. And I'm glad to have you here in a space, being a Black woman, right? Wanting to know how to elevate my palate, specifically in wine, right? Because like I told you, I'm not done with cognac, but I don't
You don't
indulge.
have to be done with cognac. Me and whiskey gonna be friends for a long time. I'm not
Whiskey,
giving her up.
my husband loves whiskey. Look, he loves whiskey. That's another show. I got to bring you back so we can talk about whiskey, right?
Love me some whiskey.
He, yeah. So my husband loves whiskey as well. But again, it's a bite that takes me back.
Yes, it is
Again,
definitely a different expression. It is definitely a different expression. Spirits are a whole nother beast outside of wine. But wine for me is one of the entry points. It's accessible to people. You're talking about your mother who likes sweet wine. My sister's like that. And trying to get her into, okay, so you like sweet wines. Let's make a transition from that into more fruity, full body, but drier wines, right? Like, how do you transition people's palate into different types of wines so people don't get stuck? I mean, I always say, drink what you like. If you love it, drink it. But there's so much more out here. How do we expose you to it? And then once you, get to experience it, maybe you'll like something a little different.
I'm feeling that.
Wine is for everybody. There is a wine for every single person. And I tell you, the key is just finding that wine or those wines that you really, really love and enjoying them. Wine is joy.
If you were a bottle of wine, what wine would you be?
Oh, that is so good. Okay. This is an adult program, right? Okay. So if I was a glass of wine, if I was a bottle of wine, I would be a Malbec. I was telling you about Argentina, and they have an amazing grape called the Malbec grape, and this makes an amazing wine. She is full body. She's a full body girl.
All right.
She's dark.
Yes.
She deep.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
She's earthy.
Okay.
I translate that to down to earth.
Okay.
And she got a little spice on her. She's a little spicy. So I would be like definitely
Malbec is for Leo. It's for
yes,
Leo.
That is exactly. Leo equals Malbec. It's that down to earth and the spicy. It's the earthy and the spicy that gets folks, Right. But she is definitely a big girl. She is not, she's weighty. She's beautiful. She, has texture and depth, and she's like complex in ways. So I'm definitely an Argentinian Malbec.
I like that. I don't know. So I am not versed in wines as much, right? But I think I have to go with you because that is definitely who I am, right?
Everybody has a wine personality. I love it. Like all my folks who love a Prosecco or a sparkling, those are the party girls. They like to have fun. I say sparkling wine is like a party in a glass. Everybody's got a wine identity or a wine personality, and we like to help people understand that. That's an easy way to translate all the different wines if you translate it to personality.
So, and I'm going to ask you about that. So with your Wine Enculturated, can you give a little, just to kind of preview what Wine Enculturated is about? Because I know it's, for me, I know we're friends. So it's about bringing this experience, understanding the personality, understanding your wine personality and what your palate likes, what you don't like, pairings and things like that. Give a little preview about what you're doing.
Yeah, so Wine Enculturated is a virtual and in-person wine education and tasting business. We do monthly virtual tastings with different producers. And at the beginning of every class, we teach you the fundamentals. How do you pour a glass of wine? How do you open the bottle? How do you smell? How do you see? How do you swirl? How do you sip? The 4 S's. How do you get through that process? Because we want people to feel comfortable if they're out in these streets going to a wine tasting, they know what they're talking about. And then we get into the wine. And I love teaching people about the history of wine, the culture of wine. It comes from a real place, the people who make the wine and what that means, and the way that wine has journeyed across generations to different places. So we teach you a little bit about the wine, a little bit of history. You get some anecdotes so you're ready for your next big wine event. And it's really getting people kind of comfortable with wine. And then we help people figure out kind of what kind of wines would you want to start with? How do you know what your favorite wines are? How do you try different wines? It can be really intimidating and exclusive. And I don't want that for people because it shouldn't be that. There are certainly the people who are, I'm detecting myself. No, that's not right. Wait, like we're not those people. Whatever you smell, whatever you are tasting, it's true for you. And that's your experience. Just because it's not in the winemaker's notes doesn't mean it's not true for you. So whatever you're tasting, trust yourself. And so really getting people comfortable with understanding wine. Wine educators know a lot about wine, and that's why I can blind a wine and know, what the notes are. I can get probably a 95% guess of what grape it is.
Right.
Eventually, I'll be able to tell you what year it is, exactly what vineyard it was in. That's a part of the education process, but most people don't have that kind of education. You're just enjoying the wine and you're detecting certain aromas that are familiar to you, and that's how you get there. I had one of my stepdaughters, my bonus daughters, has an amazing nose, and she was smelling something. And I said, well, what are you getting? And she said, that smells like grandma's house. And I said, well, say more about that. And she was like, it's kind of floral. And I said, say more. And she said, rose. And I said, that's exactly what it is. So if you relate it to an experience that you've had, then we can get to what it actually is. And then you'll realize how comfortable it is. I heard one person say, I smell, that cherry Kool-Aid packet.
Yes.
Absolutely. Right. Dried cherry, dried strawberry, dry one. It happens. So we're just teaching people how to trust themselves. And we're bringing people together in a fun, safe environment to learn about wine. We're going to take an annual wine trip as part of the group for folks who join as a member. You're going to get discounts. We're going to be bringing winemakers to you to teach you about their wine. So it's this holistic environment where people can learn about wine and enjoy really, really good wine.
And it's men and women, right?
Yes, anybody is welcome. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And any experience level. So if you're beginner, if you're experienced, if you're in the middle, all of those people, we welcome.
I'm the 101, so definitely
101,
I will be
especially.
in the beginner class, right? Okay, so I got one more question, and this is for the audience, or we need 2 or 3 tips, good tips to elevate for us. Let's start with the 101ers, right? Maybe a tip for 101ers, tip for mid people, and then possibly if you have a tip for people like yourself.
Yep.
Right? Who are wine connoisseurs, enthusiasts, makers. Maybe you have a special tip that they may or may not know. Can you share a few of those with us?
So many. I think the first thing is what I said before: try new wines, taste a lot of wine. I used to say I'm not a Pinot girl. I've had 3 Pinots this year that I have fallen in love with. So don't have that, don't assume that there's a type of variety or even a region that you're not going to like. Open your mind up and try new things. And I know that sounds like a really tough assignment. Drink wine. It's not meant to be. Try as much wine as you can, and that's how you get more experience and you get better. I think do find someone, a wine educator, that can teach you about the fundamentals. Wine is very temperamental. We talked about not grabbing the bottom of the glass. The temperature of the wine can affect the way you experience it. If it gets too warm, if it's not chilled properly, learn those basic fundamentals of your one-on-one, the kind of glass that you should probably be drinking from. Although I tell people, if you're just drinking, drink from whatever. But if you want to have a full experience with a wine, having the right kind of glass can make a very, very big difference, I would say. And then my third thing is, I would say, particularly for those who have been in the wine industry for a long time, bring people in who are not winemakers. Let's leave that hoity-toity thing down. We want to be more accessible and more inclusive. And I think if you're somebody who's been around wine for a long time, bring your friend, show them, teach them, and then don't be afraid to evolve, right? Even, you talk about elevating, even experienced wine drinkers can elevate and go levels because there's so much new to learn. One of my favorite new regions is Chile. And they're making some amazing wines in Chile. And I'm hoping to do a wine trip to Chile soon. So if you're an old world wine person and all you drink is Burgundies and Bordeaux, open your mind up. South Africa is doing some really cool stuff with wine. So open your mind up and try new things.
I like that. Yvette, thank you. In this short period of time, I don't heat this up. In fact, I went to where did I go? I went to a tasting or a party, and that was the same advice that the woman gave me about whiskey.
Yes.
Glenmorangie. It's from Scotland.
It's a Scotch.
It's
Scotch.
Okay,
They usually start with Glen. That's like Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, anything that starts with Glen is typically a. Yeah.
Yes. And so she said, yeah, you heat up the because I told her about my experience with someone heating up the glass with the cognac. She was like, oh no, never do it like that. Thank you so much. Is there how can they find you? Like, hey, if they have questions of, hey, I don't know what type of wine to start with. I've been drinking, barefoot or whatever, whatever start of wine
Yeah.
drinking. How can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at wine.enculturated. That's INCULTURATED. Wine is inclusive, wine is culture, wine is curated. So wine.enculturated. I also have a Facebook page, also Wine Enculturated. And then our new website will be launching very soon. At wineandculturated.com. So you can come and join us. Again, we have a group. If you join our wine club, then you get to not only meet other people, but you get special tips. And we're going to be communicating with folks. I'm going to be your wine concierge if you have questions for me. But please do reach out. And then you can also email me. I know your listeners are really close to you. And since you're my friend, I'm going to give my email out, Yvette at wineandculturated.com. And I can talk to you about coming to you and maybe doing a wine experience or doing a virtual tasting for you and your friends so that you can learn about an amazing, just an amazing part of our culture, together safe with the people that you love.
I may be, it's levels to this. We'll have a live component very soon. So you might be seeing Yvette in person doing wine tasting. We may partner up. You heard it here. So
I'm here for it.
So
we'll be ready.
Wait, I got to practice my swirl. I think I put too much in it. Remember, a little bit at
It takes time. It takes time. And I've been grabbing the bottom and doing it lately. Yeah, it just takes time. And it looks really cool. But I have had experiences where, sometimes you're like, whoop, and it flies out. Don't worry about it. Just keep it moving, wipe it down, practice a little bit more. It happens to the best of us.
Thank you so much, Yvette. Thank you for coming on, you guys. Continue to tune in. It's Levels to This every Wednesday. There's a new area, a new topic where we'll talk about how we're elevating, leveling up our positions in this crazy world that we're trying to maneuver. Until next time, bye, everyone.
All right, cheers.